You're listening to the RM Show. This is your host, Roger Muntu. You listen to us from Washington, D.C. So happy to have so many of you guys listening to the RM Show tonight. Listen, people have birthdays and anniversary, but how is it that hip hop and arts from that had helped influence so much of pop culture in the United States and around the world? We will talk about that. And we will talk briefly about the history of that. But first, let's get ready to take off with some great music tonight. And we will have guests on this show tonight, and we will listen to some great music as we usually do. I want to go ahead and thank the Kinda family who listen to us in Zambia. Thank you for the message you sent us on WhatsApp at +1 703 350 3731. You listen to the RM Show every Wednesday and every Friday, straight from Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. I want to thank all the students at the University of Accra in Ghana, those who are staying tuned to listen to this amazing show, as they call it themselves. But listen, whether you a hip hop head or, like me, or someone still learning about the great music, about the culture itself, there will be some explanation of how that great musical culture got its 50th birthday. Why do so many people around the world, not only here in the United States, feel it's important, and some resources to also help people celebrate, to find out more about it, and we will talk about that. So first, let's listen to some great music and some of those young or old who helped shape this great culture, this great music. We will take off tonight with this great music, Waterfalls TLC. Great music, of course, at TLC, through a connection at the Air Salon. For those who don't know the story behind the TLC, where Watkins worked, the group eventually managed to arrange an audition with one of the best singer, Perry Peebles Reid, who had started her own management and production company. And that's the way they kind of met. And today, they made their own history. So we are talking about that 50th anniversary throughout this show, but also, as I was telling you guys, that we will have guests as we usually do. Thank you so much for those who are listening to us in Accra, in Nigeria, in Sudan, in Zambia, all over the world. Let's talk about this movie that I was telling you guys about. Can You See Us? It's an amazing movie for what I saw from the trailer. You know, synopsis of the whole movie is born different in a society that doesn't understand him. Joseph, a boy living with albinism, gets rejected by his biological father at birth and goes through the early years of his life with his struggling mother and loving stepfather who by the best, try the best, to protect him from the cruel and dangerous world that surrounds him as he struggles to fit in. And we have, in this show so many times spoke about people living with albinism and and all the challenges they go through. And seeing this movie is great. Can You See Us? It's that movie. I don't know if Michelle, you can play this trailer for those who are listening to us first and watching us on Facebook Live to actually see it. That would be the best way for me to have that ready for them. So Michelle, whenever you're ready to play it, let me know, and we can go ahead and let people see it themselves before I get my guest for tonight to tell us a little more about it. It's really important. It's something that concerns so many people. Let's see if we can see it. This is a picture, but there's a clip, there's a movie, there's an actual clip. This is just a picture. There's a clip that should be playing the whole the whole. This is just a picture, but there should be one on the clip side that's a whole trailer for those to see how it's important and how these affect so many people around the world. And we've been saying that in the RM show for those who've been listening to us and watching us throughout the years. And you should be really paying attention to this. And we will speak with director Kenny Rock Mumba, who's I want the clip now. If we can have a clip before I talk to my guest, if you can play now, it would be great. So let's play the clip if you have it. Yep.
Say this. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Breathe.
I don't care where you go.
I am strong.
I am strong.
I am worthy.
I am worthy.
I belong.
I belong.
Didn't I tell you that we don't play with people like you?
They could never understand you. And what they don't understand, they fear. And what they fear, they seek to destroy.
Can you see us? Can you see us? So, as the story goes, after the death of his mother and stepfather in a car accident, Joseph is forcibly dumped on his estranged or biological father after being passed around, around a number of relatives' life with his father and his new family turned out to be a nightmare for Joseph, and he is soon sent away to a boarding school where his journey and self-discovery, nurturing of lifelong friendship and love, proved to be, his saving grace. But to tell us more about this, I will speak with director Kenny Rock Mumba, who's a Pan African director. Kenny Mumba is an award winning and largely nominated Zambia born and raised Pan African film director who lives and breathes Africa through its rich and vibrant visuals. and I will also speak tonight with the producer Jasmine Dodia Mumba. Jasmine Dodia is not only a well-known female African producer, but also a seasoned marketing management professional with a degree in marketing management with a diverse professional background. In her early years, she worked for Discovery Card in corporate South Africa, a tenure that grounded her in the practical application of administrative and client service. Let me start with Jasmine Dodia Mumba. Jasmine, thank you so much for giving us this time to speak with you about this film. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having us on your show today.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure to have both of you. And I know having the director is actually even harder. So that's why I say let me start with the producer first before we speak.
We're excited to be here.
Uh,
We're excited to be here.
it's great, Jasmine. Jasmine, you I'm starting with you because as we just read that you are also a marketing a business professional. You know, how can a product like this one being beneficial to the project that the director or yourself might have in the future?
Well, being the first feature film coming out of Zambia
Hmm.
and going on to Netflix, it's already an amazing marketing adventure that's coming up for us because that puts the Zambian film industry on the map
Hmm.
and reminds people that from Netflix we can do much more. And it gives people the opportunity to believe in the Zambian film industry, believe in African productions, African producers, and African directors.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's really well said. Director Kenny Rock Mumbai, again, thank you for being there. You're the big man, as we said. You're the big man, Vania, and I'm telling you the big man because Jasmine insisted. If you don't get Kenny, I'm not coming. Kenny better be there. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Kenny, tell us, and I like the part that you actually a Pan African director. We don't have so many of you guys, and it's important to have people like you who tells this African stories the way they're supposed to be told, instead of having always other people coming to tell our stories. So, why is this project? Can you see us important to you personally?
I think what's important for me in this story is the fact that we're dealing with a story that talks about acceptance,
Hmm.
and and apart from just a boy living with albinism and looking for acceptance,
Hmm.
I think as human beings on an everyday basis, we're actually always looking for that acceptance. So one way or another, I think the story communicates with me just in my life and the people that are around me. And then when I look at the issues addressed in the film, it's not just a community. I think it's an issue about a country, about a continent. Then it's also a global issue in regards to diversity and acceptance. So I think it addresses those issues and tells a very powerful story about a boy who goes through the normal things, falling in love and also finding the things that he actually likes about himself that he gets to develop. So about confidence, really.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I'm glad you're saying not only Zambia, but the entire continent goes through this. I'm originally from the DRC, and I've seen that in the DRC. I've seen them being rejected, ignored, and somehow really hard for them to get by the things that we usually do normally, getting jobs, going to school and things like that. And so this is really represent again the entire Africa. But what are some of the stories, or I should say, Kenny, what really got into you to go like, you know what, I really need to make a film on this. It's time.
So of course the story was written by someone else, Lawrence Thompson.
Hmm.
But when I read the story
Yeah.
and I went through the story, so of course I think my dream to make my first feature film was to really dive into something action or something really dramatic. But when I actually read the story, I think it was so compelling that it had all the elements that I experienced as someone growing up,
Hmm.
in regards to how you interact with family, how you interact with friends, and how they perceive you and how you're trying to bring your best self to them. So all those elements became things that I could relate to, and the
Mhm.
fact that I could relate to them, I felt that it would be easier for me to tell the story authentically, and then bring my skills from. I really come from a commercial background, so it's
Mhm.
bring those skills of beautiful images, beautiful framing, but framing that really enhances the story. Yeah.
Yep. And let me go back to Yasmin. Yasmin Dodia, you traveled the world. You studied abroad. You went so many places. Um, for a story like this, and of course you when you return home to Lusaka after all these years, you know, when you travel the world, how did you see those people living with albinism, treated differently from back home?
I think, outside of Africa, I won't even say Zambia, but outside of Africa,
Mm,
people living with albinism are treated with so much more acceptance
mm,
and kindness, and they fit into the society so much easier.
mm,
Whereas when I came back home and I got to know more about albinism in Zambia and in Africa, just the myths around using their body parts for
mm,
in the hope of getting rich. Some
mm,
people will cut off their body parts or dig up their graves.
mm.
That really struck me, and it was so heartbreaking to
Right.
say, why can't they walk the streets comfortably? Why can't they be accepted? And so that hit me a lot because we are Africans, and why are we treating our own brothers and sisters in a
Mm-hmm.
different light?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For example, my dad basically lives with vitiligo, which is not albinism, but similar. And just seeing the difference in how people would look at him and wonder what happened to his skin
Right.
and things like that. I grew up with him, and for me, it was just totally normal.
Right.
So yes, definitely, out of Africa, the stories of it's very different for people living with albinism. Whereas in Africa, there's a lot of fear that surrounds them,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a sad thing to see in this day and age.
I'm glad you're saying that because that's exactly why I asked that question, and it's sometimes I don't understand why that's treated different in other. We have them in the United States. We see them in Europe. We see them in other
Yeah.
continents. Well, right? Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. It's just but tell me something because since I've not gotten a chance to watch the movie yet, the picture that I saw in the press skit, Jasmine, are you playing in a movie? Because
No,
that sign on the picture looks like Wakanda Forever or something. I don't
Yes.
know. Are you playing in
Yeah.
the movie?
no.
Right,
For
exactly,
now I'm
exactly.
behind camera, Roger. For now I'm behind camera. Yeah, no, I don't want to be in front of camera. It's so much pressure doing this. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Right, right, right. I can imagine. Um, how do you think, Kenny, the actors and there's so many of them, and I was reading on the press kit, so many of them in the movie. How do you think the delivered in this project?
I think most of the actors that came on board, some are new actors,
Mm.
some come from a telenovela background,
Wow.
and but I felt when we brought them on the project and when I was working with them, I felt that they needed to bring a different side, something more authentic, something more cinematic, but something a little more sincere in terms of how they tell the story.
Hmm.
So I think they brought a lot of themselves to the table, and we could feel it on the set in
Mm.
terms of how they would deliver their lines. But
Right.
I think they really owned them, and then you could feel the emotions as well. The scenes where we had the whole crew crying,
Oh
and
my God.
yeah. So I'm not saying the whole movie you'll be crying, but
Right.
but
You're
but
right.
there's
Right.
but there's scenes
Yeah.
that actually feel
You
you,
you
and
you better you better not make us run away. We were.
so it's a bittersweet story.
So
That's the
yeah,
amazing part.
and I like that. And I was reading the synopsis at the beginning, but I didn't do it right. Can you tell us a little bit more about this movie? Can you see us? Tell us a little more than what I said.
So it's a gripping tale of a little boy born with albinism, and then he's rejected at birth by his dad, and then we follow the story of the mother, how she raises him and how she shelters the outside world, so he doesn't get to understand who people think he is in that community, and then eventually gets to find out who people around him think he is, and then he gets to deal with rejection for the first time. Then he starts to question those things,
Hmm.
um, and then we follow the story to how he becomes of age, and then he falls in love, and then he finds a love for music that actually becomes an escape.
Mm.
And then in that same community, there's an old man who people look down on. They have all these myths about him, and then he ends up bumping into that man in a shelter to run away from some kids in his neighborhood that are
Hmm.
chasing him down.
Hmm.
And then they form this bond where they come from two different worlds, but at the same time they have the same discrimination that they face, and then they grow from there.
Mm.
uh, and the rest of the nuggets are something you really need to see.
Hmm.
But the story is really inspirational, and actually at some point it has that vibe where you just want to keep watching. So yeah, can't wait to.
Yeah, you just want to give up. I mean, the trailer itself, Kenny, I'm telling you, had me going. Even the crew here at Voice of America in Washington, when we were watching the trailer, we were like, I just want to keep watching this thing. I really want to watch this. I'm serious. I just want to watch it. Now, we were talking about the casting, and you were telling us about that. How did you approach casting for this film, especially considering also the importance of authentic representation of having these people actually living with albinism?
So actually, I think we'll tell the story from two sides,
Yes.
because she has the interesting part of when we actually struggled to find
Uh huh.
a lead, because to tell the story we needed a lead who could actually carry the story,
Right.
who could actually be able to deliver it the way we envisioned it.
Right.
So I was struggling to find the boy who could actually deliver the
I
story
can
in the
imagine. I can imagine. Wow.
yeah.
Is
And
the
then
boy Zambian?
then now she's gonna tell you the second part.
I was asking you the main question. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. That's
We
me.
literally reached out to East Africa, South Africa, West Africa, and we're getting all these audition
Yeah.
videos in. We were auditioning locally. It was a struggle.
Mm,
There's a lot of shyness, fear.
mm,
Just for people to come out and audition was hard,
mm,
especially people living with albinism.
mm.
Yeah.
1 week before the day of shoot, 1 week before the first day of shoot, we still didn't have a lead.
What? What?
I know.
Seriously?
And Kenny
True
was
story.
like,
Wow.
true story. And Kenny's like, are we really gonna shoot this? Is this happening? And I'm like, something's gotta give.
Yeah.
Walks in a little girl.
Hmm.
And somebody had recommended her and said, just meet her, get to know her. She's really confident. She walks in, she auditions for the role, and she nailed it.
Wow.
And I'm like, she's 10.
Wow.
She's a girl. How are we
Wow.
gonna make this work?
Yeah.
But we sat down with her mom.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to her mom, looking straight at her mom and
Mm.
trying to make sure this is really clearly understood. And I'm like, look, if she's gonna play a boy, we're not switching this role from a boy to a girl. This is a boy role.
Wow.
And she might have to cut her hair.
Yeah.
She might have to this and dress as a boy.
Yeah.
And before her mom could respond, she was like, I can do it. I want to do it.
Oh my
She was just so
God.
confident. She was 10
Yeah.
years old and she was confident. She knew
Wow.
every word in that script
Oh
2 weeks
my
into
God.
training.
What a talented girl.
Yeah.
Talented.
And what was amazing on set is
Yeah.
she would correct the other cast and be like, "No, that's not your line. That's skip the line."
Oh my God. Now, what do you guys think about doing with this film? Are you gonna send it to places? You're gonna bring it here to the U.S.? What's the deal after there?
Well, right now it's on Netflix. It's going to start streaming on Netflix on the 27th of August.
On the
this
27th
month.
of August, so we can already watch it on Netflix.
You can already watch it on Netflix globally.
Man,
So that's us taking it to the world.
Yeah.
We're hoping after a period of time we'll be able to spread it further.
Mm.
But for now, we're putting it on Netflix and saying, here's an African story that
Wow.
Africans everywhere around the world can relate to and will love.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Yeah.
This is just amazing. I'm telling you, I'm going to buy my popcorn and my Coca-Cola already, getting ready. On
I
Net-
think we need to have a streaming party so that you can, take pictures of yourself and show us.
Oh, yeah, and send them to you as
What
well. I send
shows.
it to you guys, yeah.
yes, yes.
So, Kenny, let me get back to you. How do you think the film, like, can you see us can contribute to a more inclusive, right, and diverse representation, and specifically in the entertainment business?
I think from the background we come from
Yes.
is and how we grew up is most of the stories I got to see the Western
Mm,
stories, which
mm,
which are they're amazing.
mm.
Um, but I think as an African and as a Zambian, I feel like I come from a background that I had no voice. No one has ever
Yeah.
seen
Mm,
the texture, the type of story that I want to be able to tell. And given this opportunity for our film to go globally, I think what that does is it opens a can and they're able to see the different textures and the different stories
mhm.
that we have as Africans that are yet to be told. And we
Right.
have a lot of them.
Mm.
So I think this offers that opportunity for Africa to have a voice and be part of the global conversation. So we could all sit on that round table with the Tarantinos, with the Nolans of this
Of
world, and
course.
be able to have a
With
conversation
Steven
that
Spielberg and all those people.
Yes.
exactly. So I think that's the amazing part. Is giving us a voice.
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. Jasmine, what kind of you were talking about how the other part of the world that you travel, you saw people, being treated differently. What kind of reactions or discussions, as Kenny was saying, do you hope the movie will generate among its viewers, both those who are familiar and unfamiliar with the challenges faced by individuals with albinism?
I think before the it even strikes any conversation, I'm hoping this movie triggers self introspection
Hmm.
in every human being across the planet. Everybody who watches it needs to sit down and assess themselves and ask themselves, why would I treat somebody different? If I value myself and I feel I'm special and I'm deserving,
Mm.
why would I treat somebody else differently? So from there, it would strike the conversation of can we treat people living with albinism with the kindness, the
Mm.
love,
Mm-hmm.
the goodness that they deserve?
Yeah.
They're just one of us. They're brothers and
Yeah.
sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they are very talented. They
Mm-hmm.
may come from fear in Africa and live in societies that are not totally open yet.
Mm-hmm.
Time to have the conversation and say, let them walk freely, let them feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Let us stand up and protect them where they need protecting.
Right, right, right.
Right.
Real, really,
Hmm.
real important. That's really, really important. Kenny, um, you the director, of course. Can you describe any specific scenes or moments in the film that were particularly meaningful to you, or poignant, if I should say that, so really touchy? I should know, as a director, when you film, you're like, whoa, this is really deep. We always have that moment. We all have that moment. And I'm sure you probably have a bunch of them on this one.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. So without giving a lot away, there's a scene where Joseph has an auntie,
Mhm,
and Joseph being our lead in the story,
mhm,
he's in a classroom, and the door opens, and then our shot is out of focus, and then we see someone walking into frame, and
mhm,
and when she gets into frame, we see it's our auntie, and she walks in the classroom, and then we can hear in the background the teacher saying, "Joseph, your auntie's here to see you." And then we hold the shot, and the auntie is just looking at Joseph, and then you can see that her eyes are getting watery, and then we cut to Joseph, and then
I'm gonna cry.
and
I'm
then
crying already. Just stop
and,
it.
and,
No, go ahead, Katie. Go ahead.
and then we can hear music,
Hmm.
and then we open in the church,
Hmm.
at the back of the church, and the camera's tracking in, and then we see Joseph go on the podium,
Hmm.
and then instead of giving a speech, um, she starts humming
Hmm.
to be able to tell the story of what she's going through and all the emotions, and then yeah,
Oh
that, I,
man,
I,
man,
that
you
was that
make
was
me. You really make me want to see this now. Really, make me really more. So I want to thank you so much, guys, for giving us this time to talk about this film, this movie, and the world is listening to us. Everybody, I mean, I'm really inviting everybody to watch this film as it comes out on the 27th, right? 27th of August. All right.
Yes,
Right.
27th of August.
That's right. Jasmine, before we say goodbye, any message you want to send to everybody who's watching us about this film?
Right. I think my biggest message right now would be, as Africans, as the world, support the African film industry, support this Zambian story, which is also an African tale,
Correct.
and come out, watch it on the 27th, subscribe to Netflix. Let's go global. Let's
Mm,
take our African rich and authentic stories to the world
mm, mm,
and show them something different.
mm. Show them some different.
Mhm.
Director Kenny, you want to add something to it?
I think watch it with an open heart. It's something
Yeah.
that is different, and I think uh, learn from it, and I think it's an experience. So just leave through the experience, and please tell us about it. We'd
Yeah.
love to know how what you think about it. Yeah.
That's the most important part of this. Director Kenny Rockamumba, let me remind everybody that you are a Pan African director, Loris winner, Promaz Award winner, Sotambe nominee as well. Yasmin Dodia Mumba, you are a commercial documentary and film producer, and you produce also Can You See Us? Really, really, you are also a Satombe nominated. I want to thank you both, from really, in the, like, on behalf of the whole Voice of America colleagues who are watching you right now here with me, we want to thank you so much for the time, and we are so proud. I like me personally, I'm so proud of both of you telling our stories as it is. Thank you so much, and have a good night in Zambia.
Thank you,
Thank you
Roger.
so
Thank you
much.
for having
Thank you.
us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye. Right. So that was my guest tonight, and we will get back to our hip hop as we were talking about the music that's celebrating its 50th anniversary. Let's move on with music. Yes, that's right. We're talking about the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and thank you so much to those who are writing to us right now at the University of Accra in Ghana. Because this all started in August 11, 1973. A young woman from the Bronx threw a back to school party at her apartment complex recreation center. To keep costs manageable, she had her 18-year-old brother, known for his serious sound system, be the DJ. That's how it all started. That woman was Cindy Campbell, and her brother was Clive, better known to hip hop Africanados as the DJ Cool Herc. That's right. The African American music, Black American music, jazz, blues, rock and roll, rhythm and blues and funk, all of that long preceded what would become to be known as hip hop. Artists such as Kid Capri, Curtis Blown, list influences ranging from the jubilaires of this music. A gospel group first active in the 1930s also to all started this music. This was just the history behind the hip hop that we know today, as we know, become a movement, to become more of a culture. With me also in the studio is George, my colleague George Leonard Sagnon. George, we talk about 50th anniversary of hip hop. This is which became a culture, music, way of life. This is just amazing, amazing. But I also want you to kind of say something about those guests that we had. Wanted you to kind of act.
I miss them. Hello, Roger.
Yeah, I wish
and
you were
hello
here
to
because
our viewers in Ghana, Accra,
in
Takoradi, in
Zambia,
Zambia,
yeah,
all over Africa.
all of
I
Africa.
hope we will have those guests back
Guests
in
again,
the
right?
studio because
Yeah. 'Cause
talking
the
about
movie is called "Can You See
yeah,
Us?"
can you see us?
Yeah.
That's a
Oh.
deeper title right
Yes.
there. Albinos, in
mm.
Africa, all over in Africa, they are less fortunate. They don't protect them. I think we need the tough laws to protect those kids.
Really?
And the first responsibility is coming from parents. When you have a albinos a kid, who's an albino, you have to love him. You have to cherish him. You have to protect him as well. Because if you don't do it, the street will take care of him. And that's what we see in Africa.
Yeah.
Why they're using them for what they call black magic, something like that.
And we see that. a lot.
Yeah, that's wrong. In
Yes.
Zambia,
Right.
especially in South Africa,
I heard that too.
Yes,
I heard
Zambia, Tanzania, and all over. But in Guinea today,
Right.
I'm glad to tell you that there are NGOs,
In Guinea?
association. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Guinea.
And this-
They just came recently
really?
in Montreal to collect money,
Mm.
donations to take care of those kids.
Okay.
They are helping them, to go to school.
Mhm.
They are supplying them with school supplies,
Right.
everything,
Right.
all the necessity that they need to, to grow as a normal kids, to grow as a, African, child
Right.
or children.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good example.
Mm.
We need to educate them. We need to love them.
Mm.
But first of all, as a parent's responsibility, because if you have albino child in your family, it's your responsibility to love him because it's your child.
So you think that start with the education at home?
Yeah, of course. Why they should use albino child or children as black magic stuff? It's because the parents let them, out.
So you mean the family didn't protect them?
The family didn't protect them. The family and also the country. That's why I'm saying that we need you remember what President Obama used to say? We need a strong institution, right? Instead of a strong man in Africa.
Right.
So that's what they should do. There should be tough laws to protect them.
Tough look to
Yeah.
protect them.
Yeah.
That's true. And that's why movies like this
Yeah.
bring
Can You See
awareness.
Us? Yeah.
Can you see us bring awareness
It's very deep.
to a larger
Yeah.
number of people who actually watch it?
Yes.
And we really thank the director and the producer
Yeah.
for being our guests. What about the hip hop music 50th anniversary? Huh?
Uh,
You're from New York too. You
I
everything
love
started in New York,
Yeah,
in the Bronx.
Yeah, in the Bronx.
Everything started in the Bronx.
Hip hop is more than music.
Yes,
It's
correct.
It's a philosophy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It is.
that's what
It
I
is.
should
It is a
say.
philosophy. It's a culture.
It's a culture,
Yeah, it
and
changed
it's
everything.
from New York. It's when all over the world.
Yes.
Today in Africa,
Right, exactly.
in Europe,
In Europe
people,
as well,
you
in
know,
Asia today.
Asia.
Yeah.
So it's more than a movement.
It's more, if it's more than a movement. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a really, really, really big thing that changed the world today, and
Yeah.
you know, that started in '73, and today
73,
it's celebrating
It's been
50 years later.
Yeah, so.
That's now. Why do some artists feel that the anniversary is important? Because before 2023, hip hop often would only come together in mass. You know, when revered artists such as like DMX, De La Soul, or those people die, and then the hip hop people will come together. But this year has allowed a culture once described by Public Enemy, which is one of the biggest group, Public Enemy, as too black, too strong, is able to celebrate what it has become. So pretty much, it was not celebrated like it is this year. You know, in the past it was just like anniversary, we just meet among friends.
Right.
But this year they made it more.
Yeah.
Of a big
50 is
It's a big
it
one,
is you know, jubilee, what we call is a magic number, you know. So I think there's a time for anything, and this the time has come to celebrate, you know, hip hop. So as I said, it's more than movement,
Yeah.
it's more than music.
Mm.
It is a philosophy behind this, because I think they should also put this in a program, in a schools program, to teach people about hip hop music.
Because there's a history behind
Yeah,
that.
there's a history behind
Yeah.
this. So I think it's very important.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hip hop begun as a primarily an inner city culture, but grew to include, as you mentioned, everyone: Africa, Asia, Europe. As an art form, it's also dance, and you know, really went through different countries, different
Right.
cities, different continents. It just, you know, as you mentioned, but you mentioned philosophy, but it was also political. It got us into some politics. And
Yes.
it's just a different way of
Different vibes, yes.
Yeah, different vibe, the arts, and all of that.
Some people were maybe thinking it was a ghetto music, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, some people
Today,
thought about was
yeah.
that, and but really was not just that. It was more of an art, you know,
Yeah.
and a movement and things like that. So 50th anniversary, as you mentioned, is not small, as
No,
they say.
it's a big.
It's really huge. So after Southern Paper, there's one that I really like. This woman also had made her digital prints in this music, and I met her in person in New York. Her name is Missy Elliott. Throw it back. my mind? Of course, you're always on my mind. Yes, that's right. Always on my mind. You're listening to the RM show at VOA Africa. Don't forget, you can always check me out on WhatsApp, +1 703 350 3731. But you can also be my friend on my Twitter account, Roger Moon2. And of course, we are all over the social medias. We are on FM. We are all over the places. That's amazing about Voice of America, George. We
Yes.
all over, man.
We are all over the place.
Technology, you know,
Technology,
and,
yes.
artificial
All through social
intelligence is
media,
coming. Right.
Yeah.
That's big.
But the song we just, listen, it's a nice song.
You like it?
You
You're
are
always
in my
on
mind.
my mind. Yeah.
You know, when I went to Georgia in Atlanta by road, by driving, before you leave Georgia, there's a sign, say, we are glad that Georgia is in your mind.
I like that. There's always every state has its own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but before we finish the show, I can have a question for you.
Yes.
Hip hop and rap. What's the difference? It's a little bit hard for me to.
I'm going to answer you the way our English teacher Michelle told us. Rap is part of hip hop. Hip hop is the bigger movement.
Okay.
So rap is under
The
it.
cultural movement and
Rap. I'm glad you're saying that because I'm gonna let you listen one of the biggest rapper, Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. Listen to this. New York, New York, New York. That's right. So this is your host, Roger Moon. To guys, I want to thank you so much for staying tuned and listening to us until the end. Thank you so much, Zainab. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Michelle, Joseph. Thank you, George. Thanks to you guys who stay tuned and listen to the RM show every Wednesday and every Friday. I'll talk to you next week, and I'll go, God bless. Peace, Africa.